We're going to be reacting to the complete history of Kamen Rider from 1971 up to 2024. Now, what I wanted to do was watch this so I could at least have a understanding of the general basics of what the series consists of. You guys already know what time it is.
So legendary. From 1971's original Kamen Rider series to 2024's Kamen Rider Gav, the Kamen Rider franchise has built an incredible legacy and a rich history within Japan and throughout the entire world.
Bro, even just this pose itself, right? Even just this pose itself lets me know what kind of timing bro is on. Bro is hitting them with the immaculate side look. Hold on, can I like this way? Side look. Oh, I'm doing it the wrong way. Clearly, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. My aura, I think I lost aura points on that one. Honestly, like I kind of fumbled that. I could have really hit a hard ass pose. I could have maxed out my aura, but I just think I fumbled that. But like, this is gonna be dope. Do I need to have captions on?
This video will cover every single Kamen Rider series throughout history, as well as other major milestones in the franchise like movies, games, and even American adaptations. So if you want a video that you can show to people who don't know what Kamen Rider is, or if you just want to take an entertaining walk with me through the complete history of this legendary franchise, this is the video for you.
Oh! Yeah, okay, I'm turning the subtitles off. Low-key, this does look entertaining.
To tell the story of the Kamen Rider franchise, we first have to go all the way back to 1938, where a young child named Shotaro Onodera was born in the town of Tome in Miyagi Prefecture, Japan. Shotaro would take on the name Ishinomori, and he showed a lot of creativity and a talent for creating characters from a young age. He showcased his abilities in various manga competitions throughout his childhood before he would eventually create a character named Skullman that would of course go on to become Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider! Kamen Rider is perhaps...
You know what's crazy though? The anime, I forget, there was an anime where it's like a Sentai anime. It's like maybe from like 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember the name of it. I watched the shit where it's about the bad guys, but the bad guys look exactly like the Skull Rider. Like exactly like that design. So clearly we clearly know that it was inspired by like, you know, Sentai Kamen Rider. I've really only dibble dabbled in Power Rangers, so I know about that. But I do understand the origins of these types of shows to like maybe a less than casual degree. And I want to like interact with this community on like a better basis. I want to be able to understand some of the inside jokes and shit from day one, because when I started Limbus, it was not like that. I didn't know any of the inside jokes, and I was just like, what's happening here, dude?
Best known for featuring young adult men that become cyborgs and transform into armored superheroes with a theme of grasshoppers and other insects. Although this has loosened up a lot over time, and in the modern age, not all series feature this bug theme. In fact, most don't. There are 3 eras of Kamen Rider, and these coincide with the eras of Japan's history. These eras are known as the Showa era, spanning from 1926 to 1989, the Heisei era, spanning from 1989 to 2019, and the Reiwa era, which spans from 2019 through the present day.
A lot of the suit designs do progressively end up looking cooler and cooler, right? Like just from what they showed us in this segment.
Kamen Rider! In 1971, Kamen Rider was born with the iconic original series, starring 2 main protagonists in Takeshi and Hayato, as they would take on Shocker and later Gale Shocker. Unlike modern-day seasons of Kamen Rider, this series ran for a whopping 98 episodes. And we would start with the story of Takeshi Hongo, a college student who was turned into a cyborg by Shocker, but they were unable to fully convert his mind, and he would rebel and battle against them. While filming a motorcycle stunt, Takeshi...
So there's cyborg... Okay.
Hongo's actor, Hiroshi Fujioka, was injured and had to be replaced. They would replace him by Hayato Ichimonji, played by Takeshi Sasaki, and eventually they would join forces together, becoming the iconic Double Riders. This series set iconic tropes, such as Kamen Rider being a cyborg fighting an evil organization, and of course his preferred method of transportation, his rider machine Cyclone. To say that this series was iconic...
You know what's funny? When we were live earlier, right, I was asking that. I was like, is this like Power Rangers where it's like a group, or is it like singular protagonists, or does it vary? And they were saying like it does vary. There could be multiple in one season, but they're not necessarily all on the same side or teams, which I think does add more of a dynamic. So I'm interested in seeing what the real plot line of each individual version with the two versions we'll be starting are going to actually be.
Iconic and legendary would be a huge understatement.
Kamen Rider V3!
In 1973, Toei would follow up the success of Kamen Rider with Kamen Rider V3, a direct sequel, featuring returning characters from Kamen Rider.
That's funny, bro. It's so dramatic,
In this series,
bro. I love it.
Shiro Kazami wants to be a cyborg in order to avenge his family that he saw being killed by Destron. He becomes mortally wounded while risking his life to protect the Double Riders. So in return, they turn him into Kamen Rider V3.
Kamen Rider V3 に
This series features Joji Yuki, also known as Rider Man, played by Takahisa Yamaguchi, who has one of the most unique rider suit designs in the franchise, being that his mouth is exposed through his helmet. Our protagonist Shiro is played by Hiroshi Miyauchi.
Not gonna lie, I already feel like there's so much going on, and they've barely explained anything, right? But it's interesting because I didn't know the Kamen Rider thing was like they were cyborgs. But Loki just reminds me of like Cyborg 007 too, which is probably inspired by this theme, right? I'm gonna look this up after the video to double check.
Who also played Owl Ranger in Go Ranger, Big One in Jaka, and Chief Counselor Naoyuki Miura in O Ranger, plus multiple seasons of the Metal Hero franchise. This guy is a Toku legend.
Rider V3! 罪もない人々を何人殺せば気が済むのだ
As far as V3's suit design, it was a natural evolution from the looks of the Double Riders, featuring more red and a slightly more detailed design.
Kamen Rider X!
Kamen Rider X!
1974 was the year of Kamen Rider X, where our main protagonist Keisuke and his father were betrayed by Keisuke's fiancée in order to assist God, the government of darkness, leading Keisuke and his father to become mortally wounded. Keisuke's father, who was a robotics expert, turned Keisuke into a Kaizorg, also known as X-Rider or Kamen Rider X, in order to save his life.
Kamen Rider X にセットアップするのだ
In this series, Keisuke starts as an easygoing character with the optimism of somebody that's about to get married. But all that is ripped away from him, and he turns into a machine of pure precision and focus.
You know what? I'm hoping they don't spoil, because it doesn't seem like they're really spoiling any plot details. It feels like they're just giving you like the little summary plot lines, which is good for now, because I don't want them to spoil too much. Because I think this would be fun. Like, I think this series overall, like I said, Geese is going to stay my offline recording series, and Zets will be for live. But some of these other ones might be fun to like tap into as well. Like, which one of these series is your personal favorite of all of them that are out currently? And then give me like a reason why, like a little excerpt, little reason why. Put your cultivation chant into the chat so we can know why you really like these scriptures.
His helmet is meant to look like a skull, and his helmet definitely has a look that calls back to the Skullman manga created by Shotaro Ishinomori. Due to competition from anime on TV at the time, the show had lower ratings than the studio had hoped, and it only lasted 35 episodes. Also in 1974, we had Kamen Rider Amazon. This is the shortest Kamen Rider series ever, and one of the most violent. This show follows Daisuke, who was lost in the Amazon as a child. He was raised by wild animals before...
We got Tarzan Kamen Rider, bro. Most violent version. Write that down, write that down, write that down. We will watch this
eventually
soon.
Being adopted by an Incan tribe. Nearly his entire village would be killed by Golgos, but not before an elder in the tribe performs a ritual to give him the power to become Kamen Rider Amazon. This was an incredibly iconic and unique new look for Kamen Rider, with a helmet design and a suit design that had never been seen before. This was the first rider to not use a belt to henshin, and the first Kamen Rider series since the original to not have any previous riders returning. This is also...
It's also crazy because his suit looks more like an amphibian, right? Like a lizard or something, maybe.
The very last main Kamen Rider series that did not have a Sentai season air alongside it. 1975 saw the release of Kamen Rider Stronger, which was originally planned to be the final Kamen Rider series. This show follows Shigeru Joe, whose best friend and mentor Goro is killed by Black Satan. Because of this, Shigeru
Black Satan. Hold on. Black Satan. Come on. I know they're trolling us here, right? That's a funny ass name for a character.
lets himself get turned into a cyborg or Kamen Rider Stronger. He meets Yuriko, also known as Electronic Wave Humanoid Tackle, or Denpa Ningen Tekud, who is also a cyborg created by Black
Ladybug?
Satan. And together they would battle Black Satan and later the Delzer Army. Electronic
Am I wrong? This design reminds me of a ladybug, dude.
Wave Humanoid Tackle isn't technically a Kamen Rider, but she definitely has the look of one, especially the ones from the early Showa era, and she is bug-themed, with Tackle's motif being a ladybug, and she was even created by Black Satan in the same way as Stronger. Unfortunately, the actress Kyoko Okada, who played Electronic Wave Humanoid Tackle, passed away at the age of 27 due to an asthma attack. Shigeru was played by Shigeru Araki, who also
Rest in peace, young lady. We will be consuming your season of Kamen Rider in your honor as well.
passed away in 2012 of pneumonia.
Holy! Rest in power. Rest in peace.
This was meant to be called Kamen Rider Spark, but that was trademarked in Japan. However, this would have been a really fitting name due to the show's focus on electricity. And this was the very first Kamen Rider series to have a temporary power-up for the main rider, that being Stronger's Charge Up form.
That really makes sense though if the theme was all around electricity, charge up form. I'm fucking with it. Low key, like I'm gonna say this. I wouldn't even have thought of this if it wasn't for you guys recommending it in that one stream that we did a few days ago. So shout outs to every reaction recommendation I get, even the ones that I haven't gotten to yet. I will get to them. And if I don't, feel free to let me know in stream that I'm scamming you guys out of reactions and reaction slop and then the lovely commentary that you guys could be having. You're allowed to do that when we're live, you feel me? You know, that could be like our little thing, our little joke. You're seeing your brother is scamming you out of your spirit stones, didn't react to the holy scriptures that you recommended, you know? But I think this is going to be a fun watch. And I also feel like this is something I can watch and just enjoy. And if I really want to, I could be the over analyzer for the 3 lines of the show that didn't even mean anything. Or I could just really sit here and enjoy the vibes with you guys and enjoy the show and just enjoy the journey that it's going to take us on. So I'm actually really excited for this. This is going to be actually pretty fun.
Kamen Rider.
Kamen Rider.
4 whole years later, the Kamen Rider fandom would be introduced to Sky Rider. This was meant to be a reboot of the original Kamen Rider series, after the franchise had been off of TV for 4 whole years, hence the name and similar suit design to Kamen Rider Ichigo. This show would revisit classic themes and tropes from the first 2 Kamen Rider series. In Sky Rider, we follow Hiroshi Tsukuba as he battles Neo Shocker. Eventually, the idea of this being a reboot was phased out over time, and classic Kamen Riders would appear, tying this into the continuity of the rest of the era. With a name like Sky Rider, this series was very focused on flight. However, this was also phased out over time, and as far as I can tell, this was because Shotaro Ishinomori was unhappy with the flight special effects, i.e. he didn't like how it looked when Sky Rider was flying around.
I mean, that's fair. But I think I would say this, and this is as someone who hasn't consumed this. I know if I see an iconic Power Ranger scene right now, or if I was to go watch the Ooze movie again, which honestly, we should do that in the Discord one of these days if you guys are down, right? Like, if I was to go watch one of those movies now, I wouldn't necessarily think that the same stuff would be visually cool and pleasing because of how far things have progressed today. But I think that within a certain genre, certain things are like super great when they don't look perfect, right? Because that's what they had at that time. Like, you get me, like, and we could even use like the Spider-Man 3 movie with Tobey Maguire. I love the movie, by the way, when it came out. That's my favorite Spider-Man series. Don't care what anyone says, right? I know people did not like Spider-Man 3 when it first dropped, and even for years after that. And then out of nowhere, everyone loves Bully Maguire. So I don't know. So I think if it's endearing to you, you gotta enjoy it.
In 1980, we were introduced to Kamen Rider Super 1. Our protagonist, Kazuya, volunteers for cybernetic surgery in the International Space Development Program in the United States, so he can be an astronaut who doesn't need a spacesuit to survive in space. Unfortunately, before he can make it to space, the base where his operation is being performed is attacked by the Dogma Kingdom, with everyone else being killed.
This one looks peak, low-key. I kind of like his suit too. The suit is tough. I think I just like darker colors.
And is trained by a martial arts expert named Master Ginkai, who teaches him how to henshin into Super 1. This show featured multiple types of interchangeable hands with different strengths and elements, and this functioned as a prototype version of the form switching that we see today. In 1984, Toei released a one-off special titled Birth of the 10th Kamen Riders All Together, and this was the introduction of Ryo Murasame, also known as Kamen Rider Z-Cross.
I just realized, dude, we're still in the 1980s. We haven't even gotten to the 2000s yet. So I'm just interested in seeing the jump in quality as well, like in visual quality and stuff. And like, I know he's not giving us really like more than just a baseline story, but like, how many seasons of this in general is there?
Ryo was a pilot who was attacked by a UFO while with his sister before being kidnapped by the Badan Empire, who turned him into Z-Cross. With his memory erased, he does their bidding before quickly regaining his memory and escaping. He learns of the other riders that came before him, and they would team up together. Although this is only a special, Z-Cross is considered the 10th rider and often represented as a season retroactively. This special marks the final unhinged appearance of Shiro Kazami, also known as Kamen Rider V3, Joji Yuki, also known as Riderman, and Kazuya Oki, also known as Kamen Rider Super 1.
Oh, yeah, this suit, whatever this suit is, this should peak. It's pure black. I'm barely seeing anything but black on this suit right now in this frame. Don't judge me if I'm colorblind. I don't think I am, but this should look peak.
1987 saw the release of one of the most...
Yeah, this suit is fire. This suit is fire. 1987, black. You feel me? This suit, hold on. I need y'all to get a better view. Hold on, how do I, there we go. This suit, fire, dude. It's fire. It's fire.
Popular and loved series in the history of the Kamen Rider franchise in Kamen Rider Black. This is a legendary entry, marked by a dark tone, a gritty look, and a very emotional story. This show is a drama in the fullest sense. Black introduces us to Kotaro Minami, who is portrayed masterfully by Tetsuo Kurata, and he delivers a heavy and impactful performance where you're gonna feel the agony that he feels during his fight against Shadow Moon and the Gorgon.
I think I need to watch this one. This one's calling to me.
It was around this time that the look of Kamen Riders in general started to change a little bit. The helmets became a little less bulky, and the armor started looking a little more like armor instead of cloth. The aesthetics here and the tone would remain influential to future iterations of Kamen Rider for years to come.
This season looks like it might be the one that I need the most. Black.
In 1988, after the success of Kamen Rider Black, the executives at Toei agreed to go ahead with a sequel entitled Kamen Rider Black RX. In this series, Minami Kotaro returns, and he refuses an offer to join the Crisis Empire. Because of this, he's thrown into the sun, where he would become Kamen Rider Black RX. This show is notable for featuring Rider-On, which was a red car instead of Kamen Rider's signature motorcycle, and this was also the first show to introduce form switching into the franchise officially. 1992 was an absolutely packed year for the Kamen Rider franchise,
we're in the 90s
featuring
now.
Shin Kamen Rider Prologue, a film celebrating the 20th anniversary of the franchise. Because this was 20 years later, this film was meant to attract fans of the original series that had now grown into adults, and that's why the film was a lot darker and more violent. Our protagonist here is Shin Kazamatsuri, who is fused with grasshopper DNA against his will, leading him to fight against the Institute of Super Science, or ISS. Shotaro Ishinomori.
He's fused with the grasshopper DNA. Bro, what is going on in the Kamen Rider series, and why does this actually seem so peak? Right? Like I would like you wouldn't assume that there's like stuff like this going on in a show like this if you don't watch it, right? Like, you would assume that it's something completely different. I was thinking that that was the bad guy actually, but he's the MC. Again,
Originally
fire.
planned for him to be called Kamen Rider Gaia, with a more traditional look, but later on they changed this to Kamen Rider Shin and gave him a suit that was more biological and insect-like. Ishinomori himself even appears in this movie as a spy. Also in 1993, we had the release of Kamen Rider on the Super Famicom. This was a game based on the original Kamen Rider series, released 20 years after the show that it's based on. It was a beat-em-up style game, allowing 2 players to play as Kamen Rider Ichigo and Nigo respectively. This game made it possible for a new generation to experience the universe of the original Kamen Rider series.
See this coming out though back then, and this being like a peak game. I could see that because there was a tons of beat 'em up games. So you get to play a beat 'em up game in a universe you actually care about.
And you can even
Like-
play it with a friend. Rounding out a huge 1993 was Ultraman vs. Kamen Rider, a TV special featuring mini clips and interviews with the people involved from both shows, where we have Kamen Rider growing into a giant to fight alongside Ultraman.
Oh, sorry. So Kamen Rider and Ultraman are not of the same lineage. Enlighten me in the comments. Enlighten Senior Brother so that he can write this down in the Book of Holy Scriptures and be well more acquainted with the things that are happening and more knowledgeable. Thank you.
This was a small project, but fans in 1993 welcomed it, and it kept the spirits of these legendary Toku characters alive and well.
And I've heard of Ultraman. I've never watched any Ultraman, but I know who Ultraman is for sure.
1994 was the year of Kamen Rider J, the first rider to be able to grow into a giant. Koji Segawa is a photographer who is killed while attempting to protect his little sister named Kana. He's thrown over a cliff and Kana is captured. The Earth Spirits resurrect Koji, and he becomes Kamen Rider J, who is assisted by his aide Barry. J is played by Yuta Mochizuki, who also played Geki in Zyuranger.
Masked
1995
Rider.
would live in infamy with Saban's Masked Rider, one of the largest blemishes on the resume of Kamen Rider.
I have traveled a vast distance from the planet Edenoi.
Huh?
Why was it? Why do we think this was? Why do they consider this a blemish? Why do we think they consider this a blemish, or why do they? We know I haven't seen it, so I really want to know y'all thoughts.
After the success of Power Rangers during the 90s, Saban and Toei decided to team up in order to bring Kamen Rider to the English-speaking world. This resulted in what is widely considered to be one of the worst adaptations of all time. This show is about an alien named Dax from planet Edenoi who travels to Earth alongside his companion Furbus, who looks like a giant Furby, and he meets a family who are pretty much devoid of personality and acting skills.
Ecto phase, activate!
Never mind. All they said poor adaptation. That's all we need to know. When something is adapted in a way that's just not enjoyable for the original audience and for the new audience, it's not going to ever work.
They tried to shove Kamen Rider and a family sitcom together, and it just doesn't work. An unfortunate blemish to the legacy of Kamen Rider in the West.
Damn, he was dancing like Michael Jackson too. The Masked
1998
Rider.
saw the release of a Kamen Rider game on a brand new cutting-edge system, the PlayStation, allowing fans to experience the original Kamen Rider series all over again. This was a fighting game featuring characters and locations that fans of the original series would be really excited to see. The gameplay was nothing revolutionary here, but this was definitely a noteworthy release in the history of Kamen Rider. 1998 was also a year that would go down as a sad one for Kamen Rider fans, as we lost Shotaro Ishinomori due to heart failure on January 28, 1998. It was unclear what would come of the Kamen Rider franchise with the loss of its creator and visionary. In 2000, Kamen Rider would return inside of the Heisei era with a new hero, a new legend, in Kamen Rider Kuga. This was the first series in 11 years. The main protagonist in Kuga is Yusuke Godai, who finds an ancient artifact that allows him to become Kuga in order.
He's a cultivator who finds an ancient artifact that allows him to channel the energy of the universe into himself, becoming one with the universe and one with all. I just made that up because it sounds really good, but
to battle the Gyorongi, or unidentified life forms. This was the final Kamen Rider season to feature only a single rider, as every season following Kuga would feature multiple riders.
That suit is fire, actually.
Kuga would also feature multiple forms that were different color swaps and featured different weapons. And this was also the first season to air alongside a Super Sentai season on the same network, leading to Superhero Time. In 2001, Toei released a direct sequel to Kuga titled Kamen Rider Agito, and this show features 4 very different riders. Shoichi becomes Agito, a magic-based rider whose name is Latin for move or keep moving. Makoto becomes G3, a mechanical and technology-based rider who's based off of Kuga and actually puts his suit on. Ryo is Gills, a biological rider whose armor actually grows from his body.
I'm not gonna lie, I can see how this format works very well, though. Each rider is completely distinct from each other with how their suit and abilities work. They're each probably all gonna have different personalities that could hit the personality tropes of the individuals watching it or get you to like have certain emotions towards them. It just makes more sense.
And Kaoru is the incredibly cool Another Agito. This was the final Kamen Rider season to feature the Ishinomori style belt design. Also in 2001, the Ishinomori Manga Museum, named after Shotaro Ishinomori, opened in Ishinomaki, Miyagi Prefecture, Japan, to showcase some of the most culturally significant manga in history and to educate people on an art form that Shotaro Ishinomori himself loved so much. Even though Shotaro was gone, his legacy was well remembered, and the franchise he created was headed in an exciting new direction. 2002 brought Kamen Rider Yuki, a very popular season, especially amongst fans that enjoy having a lot of riders. Riders travel to the mirror world via reflective surfaces, and these riders compete in the Rider War, a winner-take-all competition where the victor will be granted a single wish.
The Rider War. Which one was this? Yo, I think ultimately we're going to have to watch each season of Kamen Rider because they all seem pretty interesting. And I feel like the ones of the 2000s, I think I could sit through and just enjoy binging them. They just seem really fun. The older ones might take a little bit of like getting into, but I think that's absolutely okay because that gives me another way to like connect, you know? Maybe the pacing may be different in those than these. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if each season the pace is just very different or if they're following the same pacing and for each season, or like, you know, you get what I'm saying, you know, each season could be very different. One could be all hype and aura and one could be very a very methodical slow burn, you know? Yeah, Theo?
Yuki is known for having a very unique style, and this series has a lot of cool attributes, like being the first season to use cards, and it was also the first season where riders had a device that activates and announces their abilities and attacks.
That's stuff too.
This was also the first season to feature villain riders. It was around this time that the team at Toei started getting more experimental and creative with suit designs, as evidenced by the unique and elaborate helmet designs showcased within Yuki. 2003 was the year of Kamen Rider Phase, a show in which Smart Brain Org is trying to take over the world with Orphanox, who are the next stage of human evolution. They create 3 suits called Rider Gear, which are Phase, Delta, and Kaiza. Our main protagonist in this series is Takumi, who along with his allies would fight against Smart Brain to prevent them from replacing the world with Orphanox.
Complete.
Faiz brought with it a dark, quality story with excellent acting and explosive
That boy
action.
got the shoulder
and
hanging out,
2003
man.
was another great year for Kamen Rider.
Chat, shall I wear a shirt like that on stream too? That's funny.
2004 saw the release
Gotta have
of
the shoulders
Kamen Rider
hanging out.
Blade, a playing card themed season featuring multiple riders that represented different suits from the card deck. Our main protagonist is Kazuma, who becomes Kamen Rider Blade after being ordered along with Sakuya by Board to fight against creatures called undead.
So, hold on. So they're battling with cards and physically battling at the same time. I'm not gonna lie, this is why I really do like Japanese media, and sometimes why it's fun to like watch media from outside of your country, because they might be just doing some things that you would never see in your normal series, like, you know?
This series featured some really cool riders, including Garen, Chalice, Liongo, and of course Blade himself. The show featured 2 intros, and the second intro looks cool, and you could tell their focus was just on making it look cool for the audience. But the first intro is genuinely hilarious to me, and it's really unique in its weirdness. Kick that napkin. Kick it. This was the first season to have 2 intros since Skyrider. In 2005, Toei released Kamen Rider Hibiki. This show wasn't even originally designed to be a Kamen Rider series, and in pre-production many different themes were tossed around, including ninjas and yokai, but when Bandai demanded that the Kamen Rider name be attached to the project in order to sell more toys, the original themes would be dropped, and the character would become an Oni-themed Kamen Rider. By episode 29, chief producer Shigenori Taketera
Oni theme is dope though. Oni theme is dope. I'm not gonna lie to you. That would be fire. That'd be kind of gas.
was fired, and this was unofficially attributed to low ratings and low toy sales.
Damn.
After the firing, there was a visible tone shift on the show, and it began to resemble a more traditional Kamen Rider series. Hibiki introduced a lot of unique things into the franchise, including the fact that there are no belts to henshin, and this is the only series with an instrumental theme.
Kamen Rider, the first.
2005 would continue with Kamen Rider the First. Kamen Rider the First was a modern-day reimagining of Shotaro Ishinomori's classic original series. This movie took some liberties in regards to story, but ultimately serves as a creative and well-made Kamen Rider project that shows a lot of love and respect for the original
It's like
series.
the original, right? Yeah, that makes sense. You got to do that every once in a while.
2006
Pay
was an
homage.
important year for Kamen Rider, as we would be introduced to the very first HD Kamen Rider series in Kamen Rider Kabuto. The series takes place 7 years after a meteorite hit Shibuya, and shape-shifting creatures known as worms emerged from the disaster. This show added a cast-off feature, giving a unique external layer of armor over the rider's base armor, something completely fresh and new to the franchise. This show is notable for having a lot of unique riders with varied story arcs. The main protagonist is named Soji, and he's very unique within the franchise due to being extremely arrogant most of the time.
Amazing good.
Kabuto is also very unique due to its food and culinary focus. 2007 would bring with it an absolute cultural phenomenon within Japan in Kamen Rider Den-O.
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm very excited to tap a couple of these seasons, bro. I'm very excited. Like, this shit does look really good, bro. It looks really fucking good. Like, it just feels like it'll be a fun journey to watch this stuff with you guys, honestly. And low key, I think that's perfectly fine. No, we just get to enjoy some new stuff.
Ryotaro is a huge wimp until he's possessed by the Taros, because they imbue their own personality unto him and even change his non-henshin look.
That's funny.
Ryotaro travels
That's
with Hana
funny.
and the Taros through time on the Den Liner to fight against evil Imagines, and they also
So they
encounter
just take
Kamen Rider
over him.
Zeronos.
最初に言っておく俺はかなり強い
Takeru Sato, who plays Ryotaro, claims that the reason for the show's success was the comedic timing. Because the show was so successful, it would lead to a mountain of revenue for Toei and more crossovers than any other Kamen Rider series in history. Following on the heels of Kamen Rider the First, 2007 would continue the anniversary celebration that the first started with the release of Kamen Rider the Next, a reimagining of Kamen Rider V3 with a much darker and more intense tone featuring horror themes. Like the Next, this movie introduced these characters to a new generation and put them in an interesting premise set in the Heisei era. Tsuburaya Productions actually helped with visual effects for this movie, and they are of course known for being the makers of Ultraman.
So peak production is all I'm hearing.
2008 was the year that
suit is
Kamen Rider
clean.
would take on a campy vampire theme with Kamen Rider Kiva. The tagline for this series was "Wake up, break the chains of destiny." This show takes place across two time frames simultaneously, being 1986 and 2008, allowing the audience to
Who doesn't like vampire themes though, right? Vampire themes in movies and TV shows always hit.
experience the cause and effect of certain story beats. Our soft-spoken protagonist is Wataru, an introvert who's a human and Fangire hybrid, and this is actually a huge part of the plot, where we would explore Wataru's family history and his place within the hierarchy of the Fangire species.
Bro, what? What, bro?
This show introduced some really unique elements to the franchise, featuring Wataru's ghostly allies called the Arms Monsters, who provide Kiva with power-ups and live in a building that turns into a dragon. This show also introduced us to Kibat, a bat that bites Wataru's hand to facilitate his henshin. Although Kiva failed to achieve the same levels of success as Deno, this show introduced fans to some fresh and interesting new things that had never been seen before within the Kamen Rider franchise.
That suit is peak though, I'm not gonna lie. G-Man! I don't even know if that's his name, but that's the first thing I think when I see the big ass G.
Going into 2009, no Rider fan knew just how huge it would end up being, with several awesome projects to keep the fanbase happy. One of which was Kamen Rider G, a TV special meant to celebrate the 50th anniversary of TV Asahi, as well as promote Kamen Rider Decade. This special followed Goro, a sommelier who henshins into Kamen Rider G as he takes on the organization Shade. Kamen Rider G is a wine-themed rider who literally uses a wine bottle and corkscrew to henshin, and he even has a sword with a corkscrew attached to it.
Not gonna lie, if we decide to watch Kamen Rider G as a family, I might do it as a drunk stream. Because bro has a wine bottle to power him up, we will need a wine bottle to power us up as well.
Special is often overlooked, but it brought the fandom something incredibly unique.
Is it a movie?
With
'Cause this is special, so is it a movie
and
or
was
is it like
just
a
one part of
couple
what would be a
episodes
great
special?
year for Kamen Rider.
Decade.
In 2009, we of course got Kamen Rider Decade, an anniversary season celebrating 10 years of the Heisei era. This show had two catchphrases. One is "Connect everything by destroying everything," and "Heisei Rider 10 years early." Although the show only had 31 episodes, it was stuffed full of fan service and was focused primarily on making longtime fans happy. This show exists amongst the larger Riderverse, where our main protagonist named Tsukasa, also known as the Destroyer of Worlds, henshins into Kamen Rider Decade, and he travels to the universes of other Heisei-era riders as they are converging into one. He can even henshin into other riders from the Heisei era. Although Decade was a shorter season, the impact of the show was undeniable, as Decade would be featured in many crossover projects over the years.
ようこそ大ショッカーへ。
大ショッカー
2009 also brought a huge team-up movie in Kamen Rider Decade, All Riders vs. Daishocker. This project served as the official movie adaptation of Decade that gave the audience some additional context about Tsukasa and featured a team-up of every rider from the history of the franchise up to this point. In addition to all of the Henshin riders throughout history, this movie also featured the nostalgic appearances of Tetsuo Kurata as Kotaro Minami, or Kamen Rider Black, and Toshiki Kashu as Shoichi Sugami, or Kamen Rider Faiz, as well as tons of classic villains from the franchise.
That suit is clean, bro. I'm not gonna lie, I get a Kamen Rider suit, that bitch gotta be all black with chrome on it. Feel me?
When this movie released in theaters, it actually beat Harry Potter in the box office, earning over 2 billion yen, making it a huge success for Toei commercially.
Damn, 2 billion beating Harry Potter is insane. Insane. So let's back up where we left off. Had to do some IRL things in the middle of the video. Go figure, right? But I'm excited, bro. Overall, I'm really feeling like this series has some potential to give me some good entertainment. I've always been a fan of like Korean culture, Japanese culture, Chinese culture. I read the Cultivation Slop, manhwas, webtoons. I used to watch some K-drama shit too. They be having some good ass shows, dude. I remember one time ago I watched this crazy ass shit. It was like I don't even remember the name of it, but it was like set in the past and the king was dying and shit. It was some crazy shit, bro. It was peak. All these shows also all have like their own reason that they appeal to me. And honestly, I can't say what these are now other than the recommendations. And so far from what I've seen, it's been pretty enjoyable. This universe seems to have, it has fucking decades of lore in it. So that's also another benefit. When you watch a series that has decades of lore in it, there's much more to like enjoy and explore. So this is just going to be peak.
And a memorable part of 2009. Also in 2009, Kamen Rider would have another chance at winning over Western fans with a new American adaptation titled Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. Using footage from Kamen Rider Yuki, this show aired on the CW television network during its CW for Kids programming block.
This was on CW. CW gets some of the most ridiculous shows. Flash, Green Arrow, both pretty entertaining, by the way. Right? Like they get some shows that like I haven't watched this in forever, dude. There's probably seasons of it that I haven't even seen yet. But they get some, yeah.
But it was
CW
ultimately
gets some good stuff
canceled
sometimes.
before the final 2 episodes aired on TV.
Kamen Rider.
Producer Aki Komike convinced Toei to let him make a pilot for an American adaptation of Kamen Rider in the same style of Power Rangers, and ultimately Ryuki was chosen for the adaptation due to the large quantity of riders and the fact that Ryuki has a female rider. Despite the show's cancellation, Dragon Knight actually won a Daytime Emmy Award for stunt coordination, and it's remembered mostly positively by the community.
I mean, I just don't see how people who enjoy Power Rangers wouldn't enjoy Kamen Rider. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I do know that, again, adaptations and translations and stuff, sometimes for some people it doesn't hit.
There was also a Kamen Rider game released in 2009 that would lead to quite a few sequels and spin-offs, Kamen Rider Climax Heroes on PlayStation 2. This was a Kamen Rider fighting game commemorating 10 years of the Heisei era and featuring all of the primary Heisei riders up to this point. This game series has become extremely popular in the fandom, and it was another thing that made 2009 such an awesome year for Kamen Rider. But it wouldn't be the last.
This game does sound dope. Hold on. Twin is standing up there, scarf blowing in the wind, in the moonlight, in the big moonlight, aura farming the fuck out of this guy. He's aura farming the whole city. There's no way.
Also releasing in 2009, a fresh take on the Kamen Rider formula, Double is a detective show featuring 2 people that share the same rider body, hence the name Double. The catchphrases for this show were, "We are the 2-in-1 Kamen Rider," and "This clinches it." Kamen Rider Double uses Gaia memory sticks to swap left and right side forms that also provide him with different color combinations. Shotaro is what I like to call a detective's detective. He considers himself hard-boiled, although he gets called half-boiled through a lot of the show, something he's not a huge fan of. He's one stylish dude, and his surname Hidari means left, as he becomes the left side of Double's body. He constantly struggles to live up to his dead mentor's legacy, whose daughter Akiko becomes his landlady, and she has the personality of a young child.
Cyclone!
それってガイアメモリー？
Then we have Philip. He's the right side, and he searches for useful information and does a lot of research involving keywords to solve cases. He's definitely not what he seems, and his story has an excellent twist. Kamen Rider Double featured some excellent lead protagonists that are very...
Oh, that's an interesting concept, though. They're like one person or two personalities, one body, or these like separate individuals. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that shit fried me, low key. This seems interesting. I need to watch this. There's too many versions of this shit that I'm gonna want to tap into. I'm gonna want to watch everything because that's just how I am. I am a cultivation consumer, a regression slop reader, and a Sekai watcher. Like I will, like it makes me want to go through the whole journey because I feel like once you start on the path, you have to go through the whole path.
easy to root for.
この日を待っていた
This show also features Ryu, also known as Axel, who is a cool rider that's based around speed, and he eventually falls in love with Akiko. We also have Museum, one of the most memorable and interesting evil organizations in the history of Toku. This show has several loving nods to the creator of Kamen Rider, Shotaro Ishinomori, including Shotaro Hidari having the same name, the green and black color scheme reminiscent of the Showa era, and Kamen Rider Skull, a reference to the Skullman manga that Ishinomori created so many years prior.
That's dope.
ハード
This was the first Kamen Rider series
Bro,
to
cool
use the
as
term
hell.
Kamen Rider in English letters on the logo and in marketing, because before this it was always Masked Rider. Double will always be remembered as a cool, fresh, and well-written entry into the franchise. "2010 brought us Eiji, also known as Kamen Rider Oz, a nomad with a tragic past who dresses like a hobo and has a not-so-secret obsession with underwear.
Are those his favorites?
Eiji encounters Ankh, the arm of a greed, which is a creature made of metals that feed on the desires of humans, played by Ryosuke Miura, who also played on a show called Caesar X, and the charisma and the interactions between Eiji and Ankh would be a standout of the season.
これで少しはマシに動ける
Yo, what?
Our two leads encounter Kogami-san, who assists them by providing various resources and equipment, but clearly he has ulterior motives, and this guy also loves to say,
Happy birthday.
Kamen Rider Oz also features Kamen Rider Birth, an incredibly unique rider with multiple users, who's themed around capsule toys.
Gotcha.
One thing that's really unique about Oz is that
Gotcha
he's able to
bone.
mix and match metals to combine different forms, but he becomes really cool and powerful when he combines three of the same type, like Tajador. This show is critically and commercially successful, and Oz would continue the streak of excellent Kamen Rider seasons at the time.
Not gonna lie, I knew as we went and progressed through this video, we would see better and better versions of suits and shows and plots. But even from the very beginning up till now, I don't think I've been disappointed by the premise or the story of any of these. The stories all do sound fairly engaging, just from the bare bones that they're giving us.
– 2011 would see the release of a huge team-up movie in Oz, Dino, All Riders, Let's Go Kamen Riders. This movie of course featured Oz and Dino, but it also featured the double riders of the original Kamen Rider series, plus all of the other riders throughout history. Serving as a celebration commemorating the 40th anniversary of the franchise and the 60th anniversary of Toei Company, this movie continued the tradition of fan service and crossovers within the franchise. The fandom was also treated...
Now, I'm not gonna lie. This is the kind of fan service a lot of games and shows could be doing for their hardcore fans, especially stuff with years and years of lore. Because these are just side movies or different. Well, I don't know if they're side movies, so let me correct myself. But these things could definitely have. Like, I play a lot of gacha games, and we were just talking about how, you feel me, on stream about how like the stories of gacha games sucks. But I think if they were to follow a premise more like this, or like, it would work, right? Like if each story is like about a specific character anyway, and that's the character we're pulling on, make it count. You get me? and then use the side quests or event stories to bring those characters together in some type of way where we can see all of our characters interacting with the game. Like that would be pretty cool.
To some nostalgic appearances from other non-Rider Toku characters like Kikaider, Inazuman, and Zubat, and a cool new form from Oz using the Imogen and Shocker medals. Appropriately, the catchphrase for the movie is "Oh the world, these are Japan's heroes." Due to the large amount of legendary heroes featured here, and this movie served as a great showcase of the Kamen Rider franchise to new fans. Later on in 2011, we were introduced to one of the most unique and fresh Kamen Rider seasons of all time in Kamen Rider Foze. A 40th anniversary project themed around space and centered around the Kamen Rider Club of Amanogawa High School. Our main protagonist is Gintaro, an eccentric and charismatic new student who recently transferred and is determined to be everyone's friend.
This is some anime stuff, actually. This is like this is like anime-esque vibes in my mind. I mean, it's all from the same country, right? But you get what I'm saying. Like, it's definitely like
Gintaro's childhood friend, and she is just as quirky and fun on screen as Gintaro, making for an excellent cast that portray their characters with enthusiasm. This season took a lot of risks in regard to theming and style, but it resulted in a very memorable season that was consistently entertaining and really fun in general.
DS に集結1号からオーズまで全てのライダーが登場
Also released in 2011 was the game All Kamen Rider Rider Generation for the Nintendo DS system. This was a fun arcade-style beat-em-up game that also received a sequel later.
Damn. That is fire.
In 2012, the franchise would go in yet another new direction with Wizard.
Okay, we have to decide, bro. How are we going to consume this in the most fun way possible, bro? I keep seeing other suits and other things that are making me like, damn, I could watch this one. I could watch. Is that what this is gonna do to me? I'm just gonna watch all of them, right? Like there has to be a limit, right? Or is each one? Yeah, each one's just gonna get better. I don't have to ask y'all. Each one's just gonna get better.
And fantasy themed Rider season with quite a bit of comedy and charm added on top of the Kamen Rider formula. The main protagonist for this season is named Haruto, and he uses rings of different elements to hench into Kamen Rider Wizard. This series also featured an incredibly likable secondary hero with a cool suit in the mayonnaise-obsessed Kosuke, also known as Kamen Rider Beast. This season also features a lot of quirky comedy, mostly delivered by Shunpei. Although this series didn't quite reach the same height as the previous few seasons, Wizard's uniqueness created new possibilities for what could be featured in Kamen Rider. 2012 also marked the 10th anniversary of TV Asahi's Superhero Time TV block, and to celebrate, Toei released Kamen Rider and Superhero Taisen, a crossover film featuring the company's two most famous franchises. This movie focuses primarily on Decade, Foze, Oz, Go Busters, and Go Kaiger, but the vast majority of riders and rangers throughout history are featured here. In this film, Captain Marvelous leads the Dai Zangyak fleet against all Kamen Riders, while Kamen Rider Decade leads Dai Shocker against all Sentais. This movie brought the stakes and intrigue of a heavyweight fight to the big screen and a love letter to both Kamen Rider and Super Sentai.
Bro, this, yeah. You already know what's happening with this. We're consuming this. Kamen Rider Gaim
2013
game
would continue the trend of wild and fresh ideas being implemented into the Kamen Rider formula with the much-loved and very unique season, Kamen Rider Gaim. This show features dancing fruit samurai, which might sound childish on surface level, but this show actually has a surprisingly dark tone at times, with a lot of depth and weight to the story. In the universe of Gaim, reality has become almost unbearably hard and depressing for most people, so dance troupes are formed to liven up the community, and one of these troupes is called Gaim. Kota is our main protagonist who becomes Kamen Rider Gaim, and he displays a charisma and relatability that makes it very easy to root for him.
You know what's crazy is the tropes that they just mentioned in this Gaim version are literally like real life, dude. Reality is turning into something so insane that sometimes you just need some pure good entertainment to help you stabilize, you know, make that cortisol stay at zero. Feel me?
This show was another treat for fans of Rider versus Rider battles and infighting, and Gaim is generally remembered very fondly by most of the community, and it would be impossible to tell the story of Kamen Rider without Gaim.
みんな行くぞやるぜトルピナ
2013 would also deliver another fun-filled and action-packed team-up movie in Kamen Rider and Super Sentai and Space Sheriff Superhero Tyson Zeto. This was a sequel to the Superhero Tyson movie with the new addition of the Metal Heroes franchise.
到着
Okay.
This
Romeo.
movie features heroes from the three major Toei franchises on screen together to fight against the emerging Space Shocker, in a thrilling and nostalgic celebration of Kamen Rider and all of Toei.
仮面ライダー
Bat Ride War.
仮面ライダー
Oh shit. Why they had her saying that in my ear like that too, man? What they got going on? You feel me? What they got going on with that one? Like, that was kind of...
In 2013, Toei and Bandai Namco released a game titled Kamen
It's
Rider
a
Bat
game.
Ride War for the PlayStation 3. This game is considered a hack and slash style game and features every Heisei rider up until Wizard. This game lets you take on large groups of enemies at a time during battle scenarios designed to make
So
you
like
feel
Dynasty
like a powerful
Warriors?
Kamen Rider. The success of this game would lead to several sequels over the years.
Kamen Rider Drive. Racing game?
2014 would see the
Oh, it's a
release of
show.
Kamen Rider Drive, a car and police-focused season. Shinsuke is an officer that was demoted into the Special Investigation Division, where he investigates slowdown and fight against the Roid Mutes. He henshins into Kamen Rider Drive using Belto-san and drives around in a stylish red car. Takahito Omori, one of the producers of the show, called it a tribute to Knight Rider, a car-focused show from the 1980s.
Drive type speed
The theme song for this season is sung by Mitsuru Matsuoka, who also played Kamen Rider Eternal in Double. Drive was a well-written and much-liked season that added to the Kamen Rider legacy in a positive way and kept the fandom entertained in 2014.
It's honestly crazy how much stuff is out there, entertainment-wise, that I have not seen. It's limitless.
2015 was a bit of a slow year for Kamen Rider, with the only project of note being Kamen Rider Ghost. This series used themes revolving around the afterlife as our main protagonist Takeru searches for the icons that will prevent his permanent death. The suit designs of the season feature bold colors, elaborate helmet ornamentation, and hoodies, a look that I appreciate even
This
today.
shit is tough. Yeah, the designs are tough. Is this a game?
2016 saw the
Wait, is there not a Kamen Rider gacha game? There might be one in overseas, but I really don't know, so I'm asking, is there not a Kamen Rider gacha game? Because if there is, I would like to try it.
introduction of one of the most bold, colorful, and fun Rider series of all time in Kamen Rider Decade.
Decade.
Celebrating the 45th anniversary of Kamen Rider, this is a show that takes place mostly in a hospital and focuses on a group of gaming doctors that battle against the Bugsters. This cast is loaded with charm and personality, especially our main protagonist, Emu.
I'm a Kamen Rider.
The suits have a really unique anime look, and almost everything has a look that you could perhaps best describe as being part anime and part retro gaming. It might sound like a strange combination, but it works really well, and the aesthetic of Heisei makes the show an incredibly memorable entry into the franchise.
The black suit is tough.
In 2016, the Kamen Rider fandom was also treated to a new Rider series for adults called Amazons, based on the classic Kamen Rider Amazon and streaming on Amazon Prime Video. This show featured a distinctively more violent style compared with the mainline series, something that this show shares with the original. In fact, there's a lot of things from the show that I just can't show you on YouTube, because if I did, Kane Janai. This show featured only 12 episodes, but would get renewed for a second season. This series brought new attention to the classic Kamen Rider Amazon series, as well as attention to the Kamen Rider franchise as a whole, due to how prevalent Amazon Prime Video is throughout the world.
Valid. Valid.
2017.
Which Kamen Rider suit is you guys' favorite? That's something I want to know. Which one is you guys' favorite?
Saw the debut of a cool new science and math themed rider in Kamen Rider Build. After an item called the Pandora's Box was discovered on Mars, there was an event called the Skywall disaster that split Japan into 3 warring territories, Toto, Hokuto, and Seto, and this also created monsters called Smash. In order to deal with the fallout of this event and to defeat Smash, the Toto government enlists help from our main protagonist, Sento. Sento is unquestionably a genius who hinges into Kamen Rider Build. This series also features Ryuga, also known as Crossy, as a captivating secondary rider with a well-written story, as well as Ivorto, an alien that wants to assimilate all of humanity. Due to Build's unique world building, interesting characters, and great story, this show has remained as one of the most loved and well-remembered series in Kamen Rider history.
Music starting, right? Not the
2018 brought us the final season of the Heisei era and the first anniversary season since Decade 10 years prior.
So we're about to enter, I guess, what the new era is, huh? We're about to enter the new era, which is probably where the shows that I'm going to start with are going to be at.
In Kamen Rider
Because we haven't seen Zets, which is the newest, or Geats yet.
And time travel. Our main protagonist Sogo is destined to become Oma King Gyo, a ruthless tyrant of the future. To prevent this, Gaze goes back in time to kill Gyo, but a woman named Tsukuyomi has also gone back to protect Sogo. As this is an anniversary season, we're treated to a lot of throwback riders and various crossovers that longtime fans will appreciate, including grotesque versions of the riders that oppose our heroes. Gyo was a love letter of a season written to the Kamen Rider franchise as a whole.
It's always dope though to see like a show or a series or a game really do things extremely enjoyable for the audience. Ooga. Ryuku Fi's Blade.
Before the Heisei era officially came to a close, Toei released Heisei Generations Forever, a huge celebration of the entire Heisei era meant to appeal to fans both young and old. This movie is stuffed with fan service related to every one of the Heisei riders, and they each get a healthy amount of time to shine. The entirety of the Heisei era leads up to this point in a triumphant and thrilling climax, and this project marks the final Rider project before the next era.
Kamen Rider
2019 brought with it
01.
the Reiwa era and Kamen Rider 01. This show follows Aruto Hiden, who is a comedian that inherits a company called Hiden Intelligence from his grandfather. Hiden Intelligence makes Humagears, which are AI-powered robots that resemble humans. Eventually, Aruto encounters MetsubouJinrai.net, who are rogue Humagears led by Kamen Rider Horobi, and they intend to bring about the extinction of humans by hacking and
So his villain is literally another Kamen Rider.
corrupting other Humagears.
私は技術顧問の刃優そして捜査官の
不破勇だ
This show features Yaiba and Fua from the organization AIMS, also known as Kamen Riders Valkyrie and Vulcan, and their goals aren't always the same as Aruto's, or even each other's, leading to a really interesting story with explosive conflict. This show asks if AI is a good or bad thing, a question that's increasingly more relevant.
That's a good question
world.
now, yeah.
And we would
That's
come
the
to
thing
discover
now.
that there isn't necessarily a clear black and white answer to this. 01 featured a collection of amazingly detailed and dynamic-looking suit designs, as well as action that I consider very anime-like in general. This is a season that's a treat for the eyes. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, the production of this series was cut short toward the end, resulting in a rushed final act of 01 and a change in tone for the next franchise entry.
Damn.
In 2020, after the pandemic, with 01's production being cut short and most people staying at home, it was decided that the next Kamen Rider season would have a warmer and more lighthearted tone. This resulted in 2020's Kamen Rider Saber, a fun and whimsical take on the Kamen Rider formula that
I think that's fair, right? Everybody is home, trapped inside. Maybe everyone's mental health is not the most positive. So you make a show that feels like a fun, goofy adventure versus like a dark, deep mind wipe.
features a more lighthearted tone and even an outro dance number, which was a first of the franchise. Our main protagonist is a novelist named Toma, who was quite possibly the most stylish rider since Shotaro Hidari of Kamen Rider Double. "2020 was a year where the fans needed some lighthearted fun in their life, and Saber delivered on that.
これが仮面ライダーの
This is a game?
力
Memory of Heroes?
In 2020, we were also treated to a brand new Kamen Rider game for PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch called Kamen Rider Memory of Heroes. This game features 01 teaming up with Double and O's in an original new Kamen Rider adventure that allowed fans to henshin, fight bosses, and switch between the awesome forms that these riders possess. Players could acquire new abilities from the enemies they defeat as well as upgrade their stats. Despite the pandemic, Kamen Rider was alive and well in 2020. Going into early 2021, we got Saber and
Superhero
Zenkaiger
Senkai?
Superhero Senki, a crossover
Senki.
movie project between Saber and Zenkaiger
I don't know how to pronounce
celebrate
anything, clearly.
Kamen Rider's 50th anniversary and Super Sentai's 45th anniversary. The catchphrase for this movie is "Straightforward heroes, half of the century." During the events of the movie, riders end up in the Zenkai world, and the Zenkaigers, other than Jiran, end up in the Saber world, and eventually they team up together as you would expect. This movie served as an excellent anniversary celebration for fans of both franchises. Also in 2021, we got Kamen Rider Revice. Serving as the 50th anniversary project of the franchise, Revice is a story about Icky and his inner demon, Vice,
Icky? Like Icky Blicky? Let me stop. That's the username I'd be using in all of my games that I'm playing. But
who are tandem riders
It's
that
probably not
become
the same
Kamen Rider
thing.
Revice.
Heisei!
Icky's family runs a bathhouse together, and his siblings also become riders as they use V-stamps to henshin and fight against the Deadmans. Revice brought a new style and vibe into the franchise, as well as some unique color choices for the riders. And the unique
Yeah,
aspects of the
that
show
uniform
make
is
it
really-
memorable
really
within the
dope.
history of Kamen Rider.
holy shit.
Fight!
2022 brought with it an absolute bang.
Okay. This is where we really have to lock in. My boy got the aura pose. This is where we really have to lock in. I'm going to be reacting to this. I'm going to start episode 1 later on tonight off stream. Right. So that's already locked. And then the Zets version, I'm going to do on stream tomorrow in the morning. So I'm kind of hyped to see what this little shit about, you feel me? And I really wanted to watch this so that I can kind of respect, like, you know, the genre of the series, have a little bit of knowledge ahead of time instead of going in completely blind. This way, like, it's easier to understand some of the things and tropes that are happening in said show.
of a Kamen Rider season in Kamen Rider Geats. This series focuses on a battle royale with supporters and organizers from the future called the Desire Grand Prix. The winner of this battle royale will have their deepest desire granted to them, so the stakes are really high and the conflict is really interesting. Our main protagonist is Ace Yukio, who is the definition of being cool. We also have the famous social media star Neon, also known as Nago.
The definition of being cool. That's all I need to hear. We're locked.
Who has a really great story arc, and she's very easy to root for. And then we have Kiva, a happy-go-lucky character that goes through an intense story arc that turns him into a vengeful force of nature. This entry into the Kamen Rider franchise featured a great story, a great cast, and superb action scenes. Geats was so successful that it even received a Blu-ray release in America.
Damn. P.
2022 also gave us the reimagining of the legendary Kamen Rider Black story with Black Sun on Prime Video. A much more violent and politically charged take on the classic series.
We're cooked. We're watching
that took
it.
its own liberties with the source material.
We're cooked. We're
this
watching
series
it.
celebrates the 35th anniversary of Kamen Rider Black, serving as an example of just how iconic and legendary that series was. And did I mention it's really bloody? There's a lot from this show that I can't even show you on YouTube. "2022 also gave us the direct.
Okay, so I did see that. I haven't watched this, but I did see that this show
Anime
was out.
sequel to
I've
Kamen
never
Rider
watched it, though.
Double in Futo PI. This series follows Shotaro and Philip as they solve crimes and do Kamen Rider things in a post-museum world. Double is extremely popular, and the success of Futo PI raises hopes that maybe someday the fandom will be treated to anime adaptations of more Kamen Rider series. And this show is even getting a film release this coming November.
Damn. Might have to peep that as well. You might have to peep that as well, chat. I ain't gonna lie. Might have to peep that as well. He's farming me right now. What the hell?
In 2022, we also got the O's 10th anniversary movie, the 10th Core Medal of Fate, in which Eiji's story would come to an end, and many fans were quite unhappy about how it ended. I've had people tell me in the comments that in Japan people were crying in the theaters. Regardless of how you feel, this was a historically significant Kamen Rider project.
There's one thing I have to say though. I feel like when, as a fan, as a consumer, when you're mad about how something ends, sometimes I think maybe you were like not really there for the journey. A lot of this stuff is already pre-scripted and pre-written out. So there's not much that would be different than whatever the author or creator decides to write. And I've been a victim of this before too, where I'm playing a game and I'm just like, oh, I hate this ending. And I expected a different ending, but we weren't the ones who wrote the story. So we're expecting things that may or may not be possibilities. And sometimes it could ruin the experience instead of just enjoying something for what it's supposed to be.
2023 brought us Kamen Rider Gachard, a lighthearted and fun rider season focusing on Hotaro Ichinose, also known as Kamen Rider Gachard. This series brought with it a new alchemy theme and a return to cards being used by the riders, in addition to fun creatures called Kemis. This story explores the lives of Hotaro and his friend Rin Kudo as they seek to capture the Kemis. After some more serious projects, Gachard was a season that had a few shortcomings in terms of story beats and character development, but historically the franchise tends to ebb and flow between lighthearted kid-friendly seasons and darker seasons with more mature stories. Gachard leans more towards being a kid-friendly season, like I just described, but this isn't necessarily a bad thing, and some fans might even view it as a positive.
What is this one? What is this one? What is this one? What is this one? The masks were kind of tough.
2023 also gave us the incredibly
Shin
stylish
Kamen Rider.
love letter to the original Kamen Rider series in the form of Shin Kamen Rider, another reimagining to celebrate the franchise's 50th anniversary. This movie set out to take everything that made the original series great and dial it up to 11.
Ecstasy! Ecstasy!
Yeah.
The look, tone,
Yo.
style, and music are
Yo,
all
yo.
faithfully recreated here, with a new layer of flair and high production values that only time and a large budget can provide. This movie tells a story that's a combination of several story beats from throughout the original series, and these elements are all stitched together in a really entertaining way. It's obvious that the people involved in making this movie had a ton of love for the franchise, and they put their hearts into making
And
it.
you know what? This is something I always think. If you're gonna do a remake of something, you have to be a real fan of what made the original movie, original source, original show great. Because if you just go and make a if you go and make a remake and you just try to focus on the title as the nostalgia bait to bring people into it, it's just kind of going to be like blah. But if you really were an enjoyer of it, you really know what was good about it, you're going to be able to make a massively great product.
And now, in 2024, at the time of making this video, we finally have a look at the next rider coming up in Kamen Rider Gav, a snack-themed rider whose catchphrase is, "Sweets and evil, I'll eat them up." He has a unique purple, blue, and yellow color scheme, along with
So he swaps into his abilities are candy, bro. This is
some
funny.
other cool-looking
I like
forms.
this shit, bro.
And if history is any indicator, this will be another big year for Kamen Rider. For 50 years, the Kamen Rider franchise has given us some
So I'm going to assume that when he made this video, Zets wasn't even on the table yet because it does say 2024. No spoilers. Don't tell me if Gav was bad or not. That's also one that I'm going to peep. But I would like to know who your favorite Kamen Rider is, what your favorite season is, and why. You get me? And why?
amazing characters, interesting stories, jaw-dropping action, and heart-wrenching drama. We've seen hundreds of riders fight for what they believe in or who they care about, tons of evil organizations be brought to justice, and we've been lucky enough to enjoy this amazingly weird and wonderful world of triumph called Kamen Rider.
Kamen Rider.
Thanks for taking a trip with me through the history of this awesome franchise. I'd love to hear what your favorite Kamen Rider moment is in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it a lot if you would smack the shit out of that like button. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.
How did a
Oh.
low-budget super
Shout out to bro. His videos are peak. But if you guys made it to the end of the video, hit that like button, subscribe, follow on the Twitch. We will be live reacting to Zets. So pull up and have some fun with us. Yap in the chat. Dude, let's get the vibes jumping. Hit the Discord. Recommend some other things that you would like to see me react to as well. Because we know what time it is. I'm out of here. Peace, keys.